Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Jared Markham. We warmly welcome the family of Private Roy Hollands, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We also acknowledge the members of the RSL Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the ceremony broadcast across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. If you're able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Roy Hollands. Roy Hollands was born on the 30th of December 1917 in Berry, New South Wales, the son of Ronald and Elise Hollands. He attended Broughton Village School and lived in Nowra with his parents and siblings, Eric, Vader, Myra, Clementine, Iris, and Elizabeth. Roy found work as a butcher and was well known as a rugby league player, earning the nickname Chisel for his peculiar tackling style. Roy and his brother Eric, separated by 2 years in age, were virtually inseparable in daily life. The pair enlisted together on the 4th of November 1939, with Roy naming Eric as his next of kin. The brothers were allotted to the newly raised 2nd 3rd Battalion and travelled to the newly opened Ingleburn camp to conduct basic training. On the 7th of March 1940, the brothers embarked at Sydney for overseas service. After further training in Palestine and Egypt, the battalion took part in its first campaign, the advance against the Italians in eastern Libya. Its first significant action was the attack at Bardia. The assault began on the morning of the 3rd of January 1941, breaking through the western face of the defensive perimeter, while a diversionary attack was launched on the southern side. The following day, Bardia was encircled, and during the afternoon, Australian soldiers entered the town. By the 5th of January, all resistance had ceased. 130 Australians had been killed and 326 wounded, but they had taken over 40,000 prisoners, 400 guns, and 127 tanks. The victory made big news back home, and the Australian forces received a cable from Prime Minister Robert Menzies saying, "We are all proud of you." In London, the Daily Express described the Australian soldiers at Bardia as the cream of the Empire troops and the finest and toughest fighting men in the world. Bardia would change hands between the Allied and Axis forces throughout the Western Desert campaign, but the pressing concern was now preparing for the assault on Tobruk, which began on the 21st of January and would see similar success. On the night of the 20th and 21st of January, ships and gunboats bombarded the harbour, and Wellington bombers flew overhead to drown the sound of the assembly for the attack. Covered by artillery, on the 21st of January, the 2nd 3rd Australian Battalion attacked at 5:40 a.m, making their way through an area where engineers had disabled booby traps and began to lift mines. During the day, Eric was wounded by a mine explosion. Seeing his brother injured, Roy rushed to assist him and was shot and killed as he tried to help his wounded brother. Eric survived his injuries and was discharged from the army in May 1942. Today, Roy Hollands' remains lie in El Alamein War Cemetery in Egypt, which contains over 7,000 Commonwealth casualties of the Western Desert Campaign. His name is listed on the honour roll on my left, amongst almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Roy Hollands, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We'd like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.